This is running most of our life, and most people don't even know it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mind Engineering Community. Here, Tommy Walker. I want to share, as I always say, insight and tools to help you start making changes in your life. But the first thing to be able to start making changes in your life is to be able to understand what is running your life. Because if we don't know what's running our life, it's going to make it very difficult to be able to make changes. So, when I was much younger, I couldn't set boundaries. I fell a lot into people pleasing. I fell into toxic relationships. I couldn't set boundaries, healthy boundaries. I struggled for many, many years. I had big struggles financially, and I didn't know what was going on. And as I know, I hear a lot of people talking, it's like, they think that it's fate, right? And I love a quote from Carl Jung that says, if we don't make what is unconscious conscious, what's running our life, we're going to call it fate when it's actually our belief system. And it wasn't exactly like that, his, quote, but I'm just quoting a little bit with my own way, paraphrasing what he said, right? What is happening in your life? Hey, Suzanne, nice to see you too. We have Alexa too. So I want to invite you guys, if you're watching live, if you want to write hashtag live, if you're watching replay, hashtag replay it on social media so we know that they're there. If you're liking this and you engage, if you comment, if you share, right? More people, if you share your, comments and things like that, more people get to see it. So that's the only thing that I'm asking, in exchange about from these talks is share insight and tools, right, for more people to benefit from these things. So, as I was mentioning, I struggled for many years of my life. I didn't know what was going on. And I, in a way, thought that that was going to be my life. But many years later, I found a woman that started sharing with me what was actually going in my life. Why was it that I was struggling in relationships, not setting boundaries, not thinking about me, but trying to think about the other person, people pleasing, right? I wasn't able to have a discussion with my family because each time I had a discussion, I couldn't really get my point across and I would get really triggered and uncomfortable. And it wasn't nice at all. So what did I started learning is that our subconscious mind is running the show. What does that mean? Our subconscious mind is made up of 90% of what's running the show, and the other 10, 5%, it depends on different literature, it doesn't matter, between 5 to 10% is the conscious mind. So we need to understand what is the subconscious mind made of. And a lot of the subconscious mind is made of our past memories and our past memories that we gave it specific meaning to it. So if you were judged and criticized maybe as a little boy, as a little girl, you might have started believing that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, that you don't deserve. So how do you think your actions are going to be if you think that you're not good enough? If you deeply think that you are, inadequate, that you're a failure, that you're never going to make it. So according to what we learned from our parents, we started creating our belief system. So we learn from how mom treats herself, how dad treats himself, how they treat each other, and how they treat me or my siblings. That's how we start creating our belief system. So this morning I was talking to a woman that she was always falling for the wrong guys, and on top of that, she would stick around in that relationship, even though that relationship was toxic. And she said, Tommy, I don't know why I'm doing this. I want to break free from this, but I don't know why I'm doing this. So we started talking. I started asking some questions, and little by little, she started sharing a little bit from her past. So she started telling me that she didn't remember her past. That's very normal in a lot of people because it was very painful. So the mind tends to, shove it to the back, forget about it, quote unquote, forget to not deal with the pain that it went through as a little girl in this case, right? So when I started asking her, she told me that she would hear her mom later in life saying that she got divorced when this woman was 18 years old, right? Because her mom didn't want to break the family, didn't want to destroy the family, right? And she put up with a lot of crap. So she would tell her daughter, I put up with a lot of crap from dad. And maybe that was much later in life, but when she was a little girl, she might have seen dad not treating mom in a very loving way, even in a very toxic way. And there's two main paths that could happen there. Or that person follows the steps of mom, or that person rebels and says, I will never fall for a relationship like that. And that's when many times we see people that prefer being alone and they justify to themselves that they're better off alone, that they don't need a man or they don't need a woman or they don't need blah, 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 whatever, right? And it's because they're in this hurting part of them. And although they might have very valid reasons to say, like, oh, you know what, being in a relationship, it's a mess, it's, problem, blah, blah, it brings whatever, what they're actually saying is, I'm hurting and I don't want to deal with my hurting. And it's okay, you can do whatever you want. I'm just sharing this so you guys can start really healing at a deep level. So as I was talking to this woman, what had happened in this specific case, and each case is different. In this specific case, what had happened is that she followed mom's, behaviors. So when men didn't treat her in a very loving way, she would stick around. And this last partner that she was having treated her like crap, blaming her of all the problems in the relationship, blaming her for whatever they were going through, and not taking any type of responsibility in his case. When I asked her if she could draw a connection between mom, what she could have lived, and what at least mom said, and what she was going through, her eyes grew wide open and she was saying, like, whoa, Tommy, yeah, it makes sense that my mom put up with a lot of crap and I've learned that I need to put up with a lot of crap. That was the program that she created in her mind since childhood. And like that, we all have created thousands or even maybe millions of programs that we're running that we're not even aware of. So again, our life is being run not by fate, but by our programs in the mind. Because a lot of people think like, oh, this is my fate, this is my life, it's going to be like that. And I felt like that. I felt very frustrated. I had a failed marriage and I thought that that was my life going to be, a failure. I had many failed businesses. And I truly thought that my life was going to look like that. I still remember many years ago, I was going to a psychologist and I was telling my psychologist, I don't think somebody will put up with me. I was telling her that. I still remember that thing, telling her more words, less words. But the idea was like, who's going to put up with me? Who's going to put up with my crap? Like, there's something wrong with me. And, who's going to put up with me? And I truly thought that I was never going to be able to really find somebody after my first marriage that would love me back. Why? Because I had many programs in my mind that told me that I wasn't lovable, that I wasn't good enough, that I was a failure, that I wasn't ever going to make it, that I always made bad decisions, that I couldn't deal with money, that I couldn't make money, that money was bad. I had so many programs in my mind that I wasn't even aware of that were running my life. That's why this presentation that I'm talking today, I started saying, right, this is running our life and most people don't even know what it is. And again, it has nothing to do with fate. There is fate, of course, don't get me wrong, but I truly believe that we have free will in this life and that we can choose. The problem is that our choices are given by the programs that we're running in our mind. So if I'm looking through a small lens like this, thinking that these are my options, that's it. But if I can start understanding and realizing that this is how I've been programmed to see the world, but maybe I can start dissolving that to see a bigger possibility or more choices, now I can start making changes in my life. And this is what I want to share with you guys to help you with it. So whenever you're feeling, right, that, something is running your life, that something is an old program that is trying to keep you safe. So when I didn't set boundaries, when I started people pleasing, when I procrastinated a lot, where I screwed up financially, things, those were all programs that I had learned since childhood that were running the show. So the first thing we got to do is start identifying those programs. I cannot make changes if I don't understand why that program is there and what is it trying to protect me from. Even if it's causing pain, even if it is causing me to get stuck, it is still trying to help me. It is still trying to get a benefit for me. That's why it's there. The mind normally is not trying to screw you up, it's trying to protect you from pain. So the more we understand the mind, the more it makes it easier. I'm not saying easy, easier to start making changes. Because if I understand that my behaviors are the result of my programs, and those programs come from what I saw during childhood, now it can make more sense because other people tell me, Tommy, I wake up with anxiety. I don't know why. Tommy, I'm a procrastinator. I don't know why. Tommy, I'm a perfectionist. I'm tired. I don't know why. I want to get rid of this. Tommy, I'm a control freak. I want to get rid of this. When they come like that, they're judging, criticizing, and rejecting the behavior they created in the first place to protect them. So through rejection, normally it's very difficult to make changes. What we need to do is start understanding how the mind works, how to be able to identify those programs and be able to start reprogramming the mind. And that doesn't mean positivity. The mind doesn't work, and I've seen it for so many years. People talking, I've been studying the mind now for 16 years. I've studied so many names out there that a lot of people out there are teaching this fake positivity. Just tell yourself, I'm good enough, I'm lovable, I'm enough, or whatever, to try to feel good about themselves, to try to deny whatever program or change the program in the subconscious mind. And it doesn't work like that. Hey, Kim, thank you for stopping by. So what we need to do is first identify the programs. How do we do that? With these three magic questions, initial questions you can start with. And it's not that easy to start exploring the mind, but at least I want to share them with you to start practicing. How do I feel? Why do I feel this? And how does this make me feel about myself? How do I feel? Why do I feel this? All these emotions. The subconscious mind has the emotional side. So we need to tap into the emotions. A lot of people deny their negative emotions. No, we need to embrace them. How do I feel the negatives? Why do I feel each of those negatives? How does this make me feel about myself? Once I get that deep, how does it make me feel about myself? Like I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm a failure, I will never make it, nobody's going to love me, nobody's going to like me, whatever, I'm not likable, no matter what I do, blah, blah, blah. Whatever is the programs that you created, and you might find one or two as you start practicing this, maybe none at the beginning. As you start doing that, then you can ask yourself, where could I have learned this? Where could I have learned this? Mom, dad, directly or indirectly. I was working with another guy today, and he was telling me because I told him a story of when I was a kid. My parents didn't do this on purpose, but I wanted really something as a little kid, and my parents were struggling a bit financially, and they were like, Tommy, are you really going to use this? Are you going to, play with this? I'm like, yeah, I love this. I want this. And I don't remember much, right? But I do remember them, afterwards telling me, and it was a story that haunted me for many years. My parents telling me, like, oh, do you remember that toy that you asked for? It was a piece of crap. I never used it. You got it, you played with it for 5 minutes, and then you never used it again. So my narrative started being like, I cannot really buy something that I want if it doesn't have a very valid reasons to be there. So I could spend a lot of money for one of my businesses. I would spend one, two, three, $5,000 in equipment for another company that I had. But when I had to buy, and I was telling this to this guy I'm working with, I told him that I went to a remote control store with my wife to buy a helicopter that I always wanted since childhood. And when I bought it, I left the store and I started crying, crying, crying and I got real emotional. My wife didn't know what to do. She was like, "What's wrong? What's going on? What can I do for you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just crying." And I started crying, 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 crying. And I told her, "I feel so guilty. I feel that I should give this back." And I had spent, $5,000 in equipment, but I couldn't buy $120, remote control helicopter for me. The thing is, in my mind, it was, this is useless. What are you spending your money on? You're so stupid. I was telling all these negative things to myself. So a part of me felt so guilty that I wanted to give back the helicopter. The good thing is I was able to start doing this. I already had some training on this, so I started doing a little bit of this. I realized that I was in pain because of some unresolved issues. I remember that event from my past where my parents were constantly saying, like, "Tommy, you buy stupid things. You don't know how to spend your money. You don't know how to, organize yourself financially." And I struggled for many years in many of those areas because I had already been programmed. They didn't do it on purpose, but my perception from those things that they said to me were those things that I'm telling you. I don't deserve to buy stupid things. I don't deserve to buy things for me without any valid reason. I don't deserve to buy things that are not related to work or things like that, right? I'm not good with money. I'm gonna, fail with money and things like that. And of course, then I ran those programs in my mind and I got stuck over and over again in relationships with my friends, with my family. In many areas of my life, I was stuck, feeling frustrated, struggling for many, many, many years. And it was in 2009 when I started learning these things that it really started making sense. And I started learning how to give myself a pat in the back. Hey, it's okay if you feel guilty. It's okay if you feel shame. It's okay if you feel blah. I started validating my negative emotions instead of denying them, repressing them, ignoring them, getting busy, distracting myself. I started dealing with the pain within me. And that started healing at a very deep level that nowadays my life has changed in ways that I wouldn't have ever imagined. I still remember many years ago, we had like a car plate, right, for our cars that had certain numbers and codes and things like that. Later on, I think it was numbers or codes, I don't remember now. Well, yeah, it was three numbers and three letters, right? And later on, and those were black. Later on, in another year, it came out some white plates with a different code, so we had more options to have, plates for the cars. I still remember many years ago looking at the old plate of my car. I had bought a car many years ago, and I would look at that plate and think, am I gonna ever be able to change the car to a newer model and have a new plate, like this white plate, meaning that I was gonna be able to, make more money and have that because deep down, seriously, I felt that I didn't deserve, that I wasn't good enough, that I was never going to make it. So my thought was like, will I ever have it? Like thinking like, I don't think I'm going to have it. Part of me really felt that I was never going to be able to do that. Again, when I started exploring my mind, understanding the programs that I had created according to the circumstances that I went through as a little kid, I was able to start reprogramming and my life started changing. And that's what I've been doing in all these years for myself and helping people all around the world understand how the mind works, identify their old programs, and start working on updating them. So remember, take this with you to start identifying the limiting negative and false beliefs, the belief system that is getting in the way of you being able to have more of the life that you want. How do I feel? Why do I feel this? How does this make me feel about myself? And where could I have learned this? Go back into the past. Start remembering what were the things that you went through. Because as I just told you the story of me wanting this thing and my parents making fun of me, there's so many other events that I went through that made me believe about myself very little. That I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't going to make it, that I didn't know how to manage myself, low confident, all those things were created in the past. Because when we come to this world, if you think about a baby, A baby starts walking, starts talking, starts doing many things, and the baby is not thinking like, or very little kid thinking, oh, I'm not going to make it. Imagine a baby coming to this world thinking, I cannot make it. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. That baby wouldn't be able to learn how to walk, wouldn't be able to learn how to talk, to do different things. So we come to this world as a blank slate and we start learning as we go. And unfortunately, our parents didn't know this, but their behavior had a much bigger impact that they realized, that started creating the beliefs. We created the beliefs according to the things that happened on the outside. So it's not what happened actually, is the story we created out of what happened. So it is to identify those stories, to be able to start working on reprogramming them, to be able to start making changes. Let me know in the chat if this is making sense, people. This is very important to understand how we create it. We come to this world with a blank belief system and we start incorporating ideas, beliefs, structures, mental language. We start adding a lot and we create our own belief system. And everybody has their own unique belief system. So the idea, I'm offering these tools to help you start exploring the mind to find what could be holding you down, holding you back from being able to live more the life that you would like to. And it is possible. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying this is overnight. There's not a magic recipe, but yes, there is steps to follow to be able to update the beliefs in your mind to be able to start getting closer to living the life that you want. Thank you, Kim. Makes total sense. I appreciate you. So guys, again, if you're watching, thank you very much. If you want to share, if you want to comment, let's get this message out to more people so that more people get to know this. And again, they stop being victims of their life, not in a bad way, don't get me wrong, as feeling that they have no power over their life, so that people can start becoming empowered and start creating truly the life that they would like for them. But it has to be an internal job. And not by just repeating positivity, things are going to change, because it doesn't work for most people. So appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoy this. Please share, comment below. I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Have a great week.